Create, cart file description. Creating Part 1 of the Elf Woman and Dragon story. Path, NT, user data, outputs, Part 1, docx. File, text. Once upon a time in a distant galaxy, there lived an elf woman named Lily Green who had 3 small pet dragons. Her home was on planet Verdant, a lush world with towering trees and crystal-clear lakes. Unlike other elves, Lily had always been fascinated by human culture and technology. Lily worked as a translator between her elf community and the rare human traders who visited their world. Her dragons named Spark, Ember, and Blaze were always by her side. They were the size of house cats with scales that shimmered in different colors. Spark was red, Ember was blue, and Blaze was golden. They could fly and breathe, small flames, but were gentle and playful. One day a terrible drought hit Verdant. The lakes dried up and plants withered. Lily's younger sister Rose became very ill from hunger. The elven healers could not help her. They needed special medicine that only humans knew how to make. Lily decided to travel to the nearest human space station. It was a dangerous journey, but she had no choice. She packed a small bag, took her dragons, and left on an old shuttle she had traded for years ago. The journey through space was difficult. The shuttle barely worked, and Lily had to navigate through asteroid fields and avoid pirate ships. Her dragons helped by warming the cabin when the heaters failed and providing light when the power dimmed. After 5 days, they reached Galaxy Station Alpha, a massive human outpost floating in space. Lily had never seen so many humans in one place. They were taller than elves with round ears, and they moved quickly and spoke loudly. Her dragons hid in her bag, afraid of the noise and strange smells. Lily searched for someone who could help her. She met a human doctor named Kate Wilson, who listened to her story about Rose. Kate explained that the medicine was rare and expensive. Lily offered all her savings, but it was not enough. Kate offered to give her the medicine for free. Kate explained that humans believed in helping others in need, regardless of their species. She said it was called compassion, and it was something humans valued greatly. As Lily prepared to leave, Kate gave her extra supplies and taught her how to use human technology to contact the station in case she needed more help. The dragons slowly warmed up to Kate and even let her pet them, which was rare for them to allow with strangers on the journey home. Lily's shuttle engine failed completely. They were stranded in space with limited oxygen. The dragons sensed the danger and became agitated. Lily tried to fix the engine, but she lacked the right tools. Just as hope seemed lost, a human ship appeared. It was a small transport vessel piloted by a woman named Megan Brown. She had received Lily's distress signal and came to help. Megan was an engineer who quickly repaired the shuttle. She refused any payment, saying that helping others was simply the human way. When Lily finally returned home, she gave Rose the medicine, which worked quickly to heal her. The elf community was amazed by the generosity of the humans they had always been suspicious of. Stories of Kate and Megan spread throughout the elf villages, changing their views of humans. Lily became an ambassador between elves and humans. She taught her people about human compassion and helped establish a trading post where both species could meet peacefully. Her dragons became mascots of this new friendship, often performing flying displays for visiting humans. Create in-file description. Creating Part 2 of the Elf Woman and Dragon story. Path, MNT, user, data, outputs, Part 2, docs, file, text. 5 years passed since Lily first encountered the kindness of humans. Her sister Rose had fully recovered, and now worked alongside her at the trading post. Their dragons had grown slightly larger but remained loyal companions. One morning, a large human ship arrived at Verdant. It was unlike any they had seen before. The captain, a woman named Betty Rogers, stepped out and requested to speak with the elf leaders. She explained that humans were facing a terrible disease that was spreading across their worlds. Thousands were dying each day. The cure required a rare crystal that grew only in the deepest caves of Verdant. These caves were sacred to elves and forbidden to outsiders, but the situation was desperate. Betty showed them images of sick children and crowded hospitals. The elf council debated for days. Some feared allowing humans into their sacred places, others remembered the kindness shown to Lily. Opinions were divided and no decision could be reached. Lily and her dragons visited the ancient cave alone. She knew the risks, but also remembered how Kate had helped save Rose without hesitation. Her dragons led the way, lighting the dark passages with their gentle flames deep in the cave. Lily found the crystals. They glowed with blue light and hummed softly when touched. She carefully collected several samples, knowing this act might be seen as betrayal by some elves. When she emerged from the cave, the council was waiting. Their faces showed disappointment, but Lily stood firm. She showed them the crystals and reminded them of the human kindness that saved her sister. The eldest counselor stepped forward and took the crystals. She studied them carefully, then nodded. The council decided to help. They would provide the crystals, but insisted on sending their own healers to learn about the human disease and help create the cure. Lily would lead this delegation alongside her dragons on the human world called Earth. Lily and the elf healers were welcomed with great honor. They worked in large buildings called laboratories, combining elf magic with human science. The dragons provided unexpected help. Their fire, when controlled at certain temperatures, could activate properties in the crystals that neither humans nor elves had discovered before. For weeks they worked tirelessly. The disease continued to spread, but finally they created a cure. The first doses were given to children. Their recovery was swift and brought tears to everyone, human and elf alike. News of the cooperation between species spread across the galaxy. Other alien races who had kept their distance from humans began to reconsider. Delegations arrived on Earth, curious about the alliance between elves and humans. Lily and her dragons became celebrities. Children especially loved the friendly dragons who performed tricks and gave gentle rides to the smallest ones. Spark, Ember, and Blaze enjoyed the attention and the variety of new foods they were offered. As the cure was distributed more widely, a new problem emerged. Pirates learned of the valuable crystals and began planning raids on verdant human military. Leaders offered protection, but the elves were hesitant to accept armed forces on their peaceful world. Lily proposed a different solution. She suggested teaching elves to use simple human technology that could detect approaching ships. This would give them warning while respecting their independence. The humans agreed and provided the equipment. Lily trained young elves to operate the new systems. Her dragons helped by carrying messages between villages faster than any elf could travel. The entire planet organized into a network of watchers protecting their sacred caves. When the pirates finally came, they faced a prepared planet. Elf magic confused their navigation systems, while human ships waited beyond the atmosphere. The pirates retreated without firing a shot, realizing that Verdant was not the easy target they had imagined. The successful defense strengthened the bond between humans and elves. A formal alliance was signed, establishing regular cultural exchanges and trade agreements. Lily was named official ambassador, her dragons given special mention in the documents. Create file description. Creating Part 3 of the Elf Woman and Dragon story. Path, MNT user data, outputs, Part 3, docx, file, text. 10 years into the alliance between humans and elves, life on Verdant had changed dramatically. New settlements appeared, where both species lived and worked together. Human technology merged with elf magic, creating wonders that neither could achieve alone. Lily now served on a joint council that governed these mixed communities. Her dragons had become symbols of the alliance. They wore special collars that translated their thoughts into simple words, allowing limited communication with both humans and elves. One autumn day, strange lights appeared in the sky of Verdant. Massive ships, unlike any human or elf vessel, hovered above the planet. No messages were received despite repeated attempts at contact. The mysterious visitors finally sent a single message. They sought the dragons of Verdant. They had detected unique energy signatures and wished to study these creatures. Lily was suspicious. She gathered her 3 dragons and went into hiding while the council attempted negotiations. The visitors revealed themselves as the Voidwalkers, a species that collected rare beings from across the galaxy for study. They offered advanced technology in exchange for just 1 dragon. They promised no harm would come to the creature. Both humans and elves refused the offer, explaining that dragons were not property to be traded. The Voidwalkers seemed puzzled by this concept. In their culture, all lesser beings existed to serve the greater good. They gave the planet one day to reconsider before they would take action. That night, Lily met with human captain Sharon Adams, who commanded the defense fleet. She also spoke with the Elf High Council. Together, they formed a plan. It was risky, but might convince the Voidwalkers to leave peacefully. The next morning, Lily and her dragons approached the Voidwalker ship alone. She requested to speak with their leaders. A beam of light transported them aboard, where tall beings with gray skin and large eyes examined them with interest. Lily explained that dragons were sentient beings with rights. She allowed her dragons to demonstrate their intelligence. Spark solved. A complex puzzle. Ember created beautiful patterns of flame that told a story. And Blaze communicated simple ideas through their translation collar. The Voidwalkers were clearly surprised. They admitted they had assumed the dragons were mere animals. Without warning, they attempted to capture Blaze, who was the smallest. The other dragons immediately breathed fire, creating a distraction, while Lily activated the emergency transport beacon hidden in her clothing. In an instant, they were back on the surface of Verdant, where human ships and elf magicians stood ready. The Voidwalkers sent a threatening message demanding the dragons and promising to take them by force if necessary. The battle that followed tested the alliance to its limits. Human ships engaged the Voidwalkers in space, while elf magic created shields around settlements. Dragons from across Verdant joined together, creating a network of communication faster than any technology. Lily's dragons led this network, coordinating the movements of defenders. When Voidwalker troops landed, they found themselves confronted by both human soldiers and elf warriors, fighting side by side. The dragons provided tactical advantages, breathing fire at key moments and carrying messages between battle groups. After 3 days of fighting, the Voidwalkers called for peace talks. They had never encountered such fierce resistance for what they considered simple collection specimens. The determination of both humans and elves to protect the dragons had shocked them. During negotiations, Lily and her dragons demonstrated why their partnership mattered. They showed how dragons helped in healing with their precisely controlled flames, how they assisted in growing crops by detecting subtle changes in soil conditions, and how they strengthened the bonds between species. The Voidwalkers ultimately retreated, but not before establishing diplomatic relations. They acknowledged the dragons as sentient beings and expressed interest in learning more about the alliance between humans, elves, and dragons through peaceful exchange. As the Voidwalker ships disappeared into space, celebrations broke out across Verdant. The battle had brought humans and elves closer than ever. Lily and her dragons were honored as heroes, though they insisted they had simply done what anyone would do to protect their friends. Create file description. Creating Part 4 of the Elf, Woman, and Dragon story. Path, MNT, user data, outputs, Part 4, docx. File, text. 20 years after the first contact between Lily and humans, Verdant had become the center of a growing interstellar alliance. Representatives from 12 different species now visited regularly to trade and share knowledge. The dragons, now numbering in the hundreds, served as ambassadors and translators. Lily had aged gracefully, still vital, though her once bright red hair had streaks of silver. Her original 3 dragons were now elders among their kind, teaching younger dragons the importance of cooperation between species. A message arrived one day from a distant human colony. The planet, called Hope, was suffering from mysterious tremors that threatened their settlements. The science team was baffled as their instruments detected no natural cause for the seismic activity. The Alliance Council decided to send a team to investigate. Lily volunteered, along with her dragons. Their experience with different species made them ideal for the mission. They traveled on a new ship that combined human engines with elvish living quarters that included spaces designed specifically for dragons. When they reached Hope, they found a beautiful world with rolling plains and scattered forests. The human colony was small but thriving, or at least it had been until the tremors began. Now many buildings showed cracks, and the colonists lived in fear of a major quake. Lily met with colony leader Grace Martinez, who explained that the tremors had started 3 months ago. shortly after they had begun mining operations in the northern mountains. The mining had been halted, but the tremors continued that night. While humans and elves slept, the dragons became restless. Spark, Lily's oldest companion, woke her with urgent nudges. The dragon led her outside where all the dragons had gathered. They were focused on the ground, their heads tilted, as if listeningly, realized they were sensing something beneath the surface. She called for scanning equipment, and the dragons led the team to a specific location 5 miles from the main settlement. The scans revealed nothing unusual, but the dragons remained convinced, trusting. Her companions Lily authorized a small excavation. The dragons helped directing the diggers with precise movements of their tails. As they reached 30 feet below the surface, they discovered something extraordinary, an enormous crystal network, spread through the bedrock glowing with soft blue light. The crystals resembled those used years ago to cure the human disease, but these were vastly larger and interconnected. When the dragons approached, the crystals pulsed in response. The science team was amazed their instruments had failed to detect the crystal network, because it operated on energy frequencies they had never encountered before. Further investigation revealed that the mining operation had damaged a portion of the network, causing energy disruptions that manifested as tremors. The question became how to repair the damage. The human engineers had no experience with such crystals. The elf magicians could sense the energy, but not influence it. It was the dragons who provided the solution, led by Lily's 3 companions. The dragons positioned themselves at key points around the damaged section. They breathed their gentle flames in a coordinated pattern. The heat, precisely controlled, activated the crystals' self-healing properties. Slowly the cracks sealed and the network stabilized. The tremors stopped immediately. The colony celebrated their salvation, but a bigger discovery overshadowed even this achievement. The crystal network was not natural. It had been created by some ancient civilization for unknown purposes. The dragons seemed to have innate knowledge of its workings, suggesting a connection between their species and whoever had built the network. In the following weeks, research teams from across the Alliance arrived to study the discovery. They learned that similar crystal networks might exist on other worlds, perhaps including Verdant itself. The dragons became essential to this research, their ability to communicate with the crystals providing insights no instrument could capture. Lily watched with pride as her dragons, once considered mere pets, became recognized as one of the most important species in the Alliance. Their intelligence and unique abilities had been there all along, waiting for other species to notice and respect them. As the research continued, Lily received a message from Verdant. The crystal caves where she had once gathered the healing crystals were showing new growth patterns. The council requested her return to investigate the possible connection with the discovery on Hope. Create file description. Creating Part 5 of the Elf Woman and Dragon Story. Path.mnt user data outputs Part 5 docs file text. 30 years had passed since Lily first encountered humans. Her journey had transformed not just her life but the fate of multiple species across the galaxy. She had returned to Verdant after the discovery on Hope, to find that the sacred crystal caves were indeed part of a larger network. Now, in her later years, Lily had become the head of the Interspecies Council. Her dragons, Spark, Ember, and Blaze, remained by her side, though they too showed signs of age. Their scales had faded slightly, but their eyes remained bright and alert. The crystal network research had revealed an astonishing truth. The ancient civilization that created it had been dragons. Not the small companions that lived on Verdant, but massive beings that had once traveled between stars. The modern dragons were their descendants, evolved to survive after their ancestors disappeared. This discovery led to a new project, the restoration of the entire crystal network that spanned 27 worlds. When fully activated, the network could provide clean energy, revolutionize communication, and possibly even allow instant travel between connected planets. Teams of humans, elves, and other Alliance species worked alongside dragons on each world. Slowly, the ancient technology awakened under the guidance of the dragons, particularly the older ones like Spark, Ember, and Blaze. Sections of the network began to function again. On Verdant, Lily supervised the main hub of the restoration. Located in the deepest part of the sacred caves, a control chamber had been discovered. The walls were covered with markings that only the dragons could read. By breathing specific patterns of flame onto crystal panels, they could activate different functions. One morning, as Lily sat in the control chamber with her dragons, a message arrived from the team on Hope. They had activated their section of the network, and something unexpected had happened. A signal was broadcasting outward toward a region of space the Alliance had never explored. Similar reports came in from other worlds. As each section activated, the signal grew stronger. The dragons became increasingly excited, though they couldn't explain why. Even through their translation collars, they lacked words for what they sensed. Lily called an emergency council meeting. Representatives from all Alliance species gathered on Verdant. Some feared the signal might attract hostile attention. Others argued that the network creators, the ancient dragons, might still exist somewhere waiting for contact. After much debate, the council decided to complete the network activation. Despite the risks, the potential benefits were too great to ignore, and the dragons' insistence could not be ignored. They seemed certain that the signal was important. On the day of final activation, representatives gathered in the control chamber on Verdant. Lily stood with her 3 dragons beside her, as they had been from the beginning. Now they would complete the journey together, as the final crystals were aligned. The entire network hummed with power. Light pulsed through the chambers and spread outward, following pathways buried beneath the surfaces of 27 worlds. The dragons began a harmonious humming that resonated with the crystals. A projection appeared in the center of the chamber, showing the galaxy with the network worlds highlighted. The signal expanded outward and then remarkably received a response. A new light appeared at the edge of the galaxy, pulsing in the same rhythm. Months passed as the Alliance prepared for contact. They sent ships to the coordinates indicated by the signal. Lily, too old, now for space travel, remained on Verdant, coordinating from the control chamber. Her dragons refused to leave her side, despite being invited to join the expedition. The contact ships sent regular updates as they approached the distant star system. When they finally arrived, they discovered a world unlike any they had seen before. Crystal formations covered the surface, creating structures that reached into the clouds. And there they found them, the ancient dragons, massive creatures with wingspans that could shadow cities. Their scales contained the same crystals as the network. They had been waiting, preserving their civilization in stasis until the network could be restored. The Alliance ships established communication. The ancient dragons revealed their history. Millennia ago, they had seeded planets with crystal networks and smaller dragon offspring. When an unknown disaster threatened their species, they had retreated to this distant world to hibernate, leaving the network as both legacy and beacon. Now awakened, they wished to rejoin the galaxy. They were delighted to learn that their descendants had formed bonds with other species. The concept of the Alliance fascinated them. When the news reached Verdant, celebrations erupted. Across the planet, Lily watched from her window as dragons flew in formation, creating spectacular light shows with their flame breath. Her own 3 companions pressed close to her, sharing in her joy, though she would not live to see the ancient dragons return to Verdant. Lily knew her legacy was complete. What had begun with a desperate journey to save her sister had led to the reunion of an ancient species with their descendants and the formation of an alliance that spanned the stars. That night, as Lily slept surrounded by her dragons, the crystal in her room, a gift from the first human she had met, glowed with a soft blue light. The same light now shined on 28 worlds, connected not just by technology, but by friendship, compassion, and understanding, a light that had begun with one elf woman and her 3 small dragons.